My name is Jel Suarez, and my shortlisted exhibition is entitled Small Bones Holding a Mountain, which was held at West Gallery between the months of October to November of 2020. The works for the show were done intermittently during the height of the pandemic, dulot din siguro ng uncertainty and the anxiety shared by everyone else when lockdowns were happening around the world. Months before the pandemic, I was moving from one place, constantly moving from one place to another, and in the process of relocating to Bacolod. So most of my things are already here, pero naabutan ng lockdown in Manila, and hindi nakabalik for a year. I did not have a permanent working area in producing these works. I was working everywhere around the house. Like I was in the bedroom, like on an office table, while in the kitchen, in the garage. Unconsciously, like these situations more or less became the prompt in producing the works. It led me to build works that are portable and works that I can come back to unhurriedly. I focused on doing things that allowed me to not overthink the long days of the lockdown. What I knew was I had to keep on moving in order to stay present. Heightened yung restrictions on movement outside the house, and I got locked down in Manila with only one luggage. So in the months leading to this exhibition, I had to maximize what I already have and to be extra resourceful. And I think in the beginning of the production, I had a couple of books with me for collaging, and 2 hand-me-down like accordion books. These accordion books became sort of like journals, but like writing with cutouts. It felt like losing touch of time, and this work helped me keep track with the back and forth of feelings. It allowed me to map myself in different directions, and I open it up and read each time that I do, a new page or a new layer is finished. It did not matter if I'm working in a tiny space, like on the bed or on the kitchen table. Like I was able to add on something in small steps. I remember holding this book, like it was a small object, and then it opened up to form a sort of a cave or like something that could occupy the walls of the gallery. I was so happy when I was unfolding it, like para siyang sort of like an unburdening motion as I was, stretching it out to the wall. I also turned to paper making during the lockdown. I remember yun yung una kong urge, like gusto kong mag-collage during those long days, but I didn't have a proper surface or enough materials to cut. Like lots of time para problemahin na wala akong papel, but also ang daming oras to make things, so gumawa ako ng sarili kong papel. So from sketch papers from the office and then offcuts from my collages. Like I remember making ones from lemongrass stalks, which was abundant during the time in the kitchen. Like flowers, leaves, etc. Basically things that I can find around the house and things that I gather upon walking around the neighborhood. So if anything, the pandemic has pushed me to find more ways of creating and, rework and adjust my art making to break old patterns. I remember making so much paper, because when everything seemed to be out of time and mahirap makuha yung motivation to move, I resort to this kind of routine, like gathering the materials, sorting them, pounding, breaking them into smaller pieces, like tearing, making the slurry, or making the mold of the paper, drying them. And after months of that some businesses were allowed to open already, maswerte na maraming surplus shops around the area. So on these visits, I collected odds and ends that I was drawn to. I collected framed works, but I guess built from the practice of collage making. My natural instinct was to deconstruct these materials. I dismantled the layers of these reclaimed frames. I stripped and sanded them, and then I removed the layers of paper inside, and eventually used it also for paper making or to creating handmade papers. I guess the idea expanding in materiality of what was accumulated and disassembling to assemble. And I love the grid inside the found frame, like as if something suddenly presented itself to be used. Like it allowed me to still work in fragments, but in the end produce a complete new whole. During those surplus visits, I was also drawn to these tomobako or Japanese wooden boxes. With no specific plans for it, I just started collecting a few. I think it's also because I have been constantly moving from one place to another during in 2019, so I was attracted to the idea of packing and mobility. What can I fit, or what can I keep inside, and what are the things that I should be holding on to. I think dahil wala din akong proper studio space last year, I needed to pack away and pack away the stuff every time I finish working. And I thought of it as a miniature storage of things I collect, like rocks from afternoon walks, or these folded paper strips, which I made out of I don't know, wariness siguro during the lockdown period. And eventually, they became the work. I built small books from the folded paper to fit inside these boxes, and it was so compact that I can bring it everywhere around the house. Sometimes I put it on the bedside, like unboxed, and continue binding the small books. I make small pull-out from offcuts of wood, tiny accordions and scrolls with written messages that I couldn't even remember now. It was an intimate process, and I wanted whoever touches the work to feel that too. Like the intimacy and the curiosity as they hold it, the fragility of the things inside, and I wanted to share the energy involved in unboxing and in returning of the things inside the box. So for most of the works I produced in the last years, I wanted a sense of hand in everything in it, and then a sense of exchange to the person holding it. Instead of passively viewing, I wanted them to search. I want the works to demand to be opened or to be unfolded. The same sense of non-linearity when viewers engage with the artist books as I do. These artist books were also produced in small and slow processes of hand making. A different routine naman from when I'm not paper making. So it involves folding, cutting, threading, binding. The same routine. And I see these end works as a structure of objects themselves. These have repeated collages inside, like probably fragments of forms and things that I'm drawn to, an unconscious archive of like accumulated things and images, like a practice of retrieval. And in making these artist books, like new ways of mapping or reading the materials are composed through the process. Elias Kivas wrote the exhibition notes for this. I felt that she was able to reflect on my art process and how I process myself into words, and that my work exists beautifully because she understands. So I think Song of Making was also a work of art in itself, or in its own form. Guided by my own hands, I think the entirety of this exhibition is an exercise of like recovery, rebuilding, and unburdening, self-awareness, and I guess reclaiming time. Small Bones Holding a Mountain is a love letter to all things lost and hope for, and I hold dear. And just like the odds and ends that I gather from these surplus visits, or these things that I collect around, found its way in this exhibition. The works are a testament that everything we touch will arrive elsewhere.